Now, at least with these SRAM cranks, looks like the preload cap doesn't have a stupid tool like Shimano. Looks like you've just got a Allen key in the end there. Possibly the same size, and a little larger, 5. There you go. There's hardly any tension on that at all. I wonder if that's part of the problem. So another tip for you, if you've not done a similar setup like this before, these are very similar to Shimano cranks, where you have this little preload cap on this side that squidges it all together. When you're taking them apart, don't try undoing that before you've undone the pinch bolts. Sounds obvious, but when I did my first couple of Shimano ones, I did that every time, and then I spent many minutes scratching my head and wondering why this bloody preload cap was so tight. Just drop the chain off the ring. Okay, now I've been warned that there is a seal on the non-drive side, so I'll go and check that out. Right, there you go. I got it back. There you go. Just needed a little bit of persuasion. Alright, let's put this somewhere safe. Hoodly doodly. Let's have a feel of these bearings. Yeah, they feel a little rough. Right, let's see if my Shimano tool fits them. Let's try her from here. Christ! Right, what to do? Okay, let's take them out and have a look. They have got thread lock on them as well, actually, which probably explains why they were tight. Be careful at this stage. Right, there you go. And in there is your bearing. So it does feel a little rough. Now these are sealed cartridge bearings. Just going to go and get my glasses for this next bit. Now although these are a sealed cartridge, I guess they are a push fit in here. Quite a tight interference fit by the looks of it. So let's see. No, she doesn't want to come out. So what you can do sometimes with a sealed cartridge bearing like this is, even if you can't see an easy way to grease it, you can, if you are lucky, prise this little seal off and get some grease in there. But this one is not going to have any of that, I don't think. No, we're only going to do damage. Right, I think what we're going to do is grease this whole lot up, grease up the axle, because there was no grease on that at all, put it all together, and if the problem persists, it's going to be a new one of those. Okay, so here's the drive side, and it's the drive side that's got a sealing washer on it. So just we'll prise that off. In fact, I'm going to leave that on there. So yeah, so be careful when you take that drive side off, there is a sealing washer. And like I say, these were clearly thread locked, which was why they were so hard to get out. Speaking from experience, I know they cost a lot of money, but Park Tools, they're just so worth it, because you get something like this, you get a dodgy fitting like that to remove, and these are just so well made, they're so well machined, they just fit better. They'll take a lot of abuse, they'll take some idiot hammering them to get a bottom bracket out, so really worth the money. Right, let's put the bike back together with some grease. Let's get some of the foliage out of here before we put it all back together. And make sure it's nice and clean in there, which it is. This is clean, this hasn't really been touched. So, golden rule with the bottom bracket is when you take them off, they unscrew towards the front of the bike. So when you tighten them, they tighten towards the back of the bike. So the way to remember that is go ahead and take it off, and then put it back in. There you go. Just get it lined up in the threads. Now, they are quite a fine thread, and what I find with most bottom brackets is they'll go practically all the way in without much resistance. So if it starts binding up on you, just remember you've got some real soft alloy threads in the bottom there. Don't stick a tool on it and start to tighten it, because you could well cock it up. Right, let's get me tightening tool. I'm not going to tighten the hell out of these, because I know I've got to take it back out, possibly in a couple of weeks. Nip it up. Same on the other side. You know what I was saying about Park Tools fitting so well? It's all down to the user. Just a quick clean. And God only knows what Calibre have put on this, but it's got that smell of gearbox oil. So if you've done any work on cars, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that smell. It's very distinctive, you can't miss it. Looks like a little wear going on around the end there. Yeah, oh, right. Let's get some grease on this. Like I say, there's yeah, it does smell just like gearbox oil. I don't know if that's a recommended lubricant on a triple B. Right, let's put this back. Don't forget to put your chain on when you put this back. Now, this did need some gentle persuasion to come out. There you go, she's back. Oogly doogly. Make sure they're nice and clean. I'm going to put some grease on those. Not a ton of grease. Just a suggestion. Right, there you go. Now, I know with a Shimano crank, they seem to be sort of keyed, so you couldn't cock them up when you put them on, but I don't know if these are. So just remember, it needs to be 180 degrees to the other pedal, which it is. Preload cap back in. Now, do these have a torque rating? They don't. Again, slightly different to Shimano. Shimano would stamp on the crank arm what the torque rating was for the pinch bolts, but okay, well, we'll just do them FT. For tight spaces like that, you can't beat these little ball end Allen sockets. Brilliant, because like here, where you'd be hitting the swing arm, you can just get it out of the way. Right, okay, so when you tighten these bolts up, do it evenly. Just going to do a quarter of a turn on each. Okay, and you will find that as you do one up, like there, I've done this outer one up and the inner one has gone slack, so I'll give it a quarter turn just to tighten it, and that will put a bit more slack into this one. Just give that roughly, that feels tight. That feels good. I think on a Shimano setup these are about 13 Newton meters, so yeah, I could set them to that, but like I say, there's no spec on the crank arm, so who knows. Turned into a bit of a non-event. I really thought I was going to be able to get those little seals out of the cartridge bearings and get some grease in there and some cleaner, but it is what it is. I'll give it a ride. If it's still making the noise, then I'll just whack a new bottom bracket in. They're probably 30 quid or something like that. I will raise it with Calibre because the bike's only, well, as you saw in my last video, 4 months old, so it should have lasted a bit longer than that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.